Welcome to Practicing the Practices. This podcast is all about the journey and process of becoming a disciple of Jesus. Our mission is to curate both a learning and experiential encounter with Jesus. We believe Jesus is our Savior and our teacher, our greatest gift and our greatest example. So here at Practicing the Practices, we not only learn about the way of Jesus, but learn to practice the way of Jesus in our everyday lives. Casey, I know those watching on YouTube probably can't tell, but I'm not exactly shaped like a runner, so I don't do a lot of long distance running. In the past, though, when I have ran, maybe when I was training back in my early high school and college days for sports, if you've ever been a long distance runner, long distance runners know that at some point in time on their run, like they hit a very figurative but also literal wall where they just can't go any further. Maybe you've watched a marathoner like hit the wall and just collapse. Well, we believe one of the things that you experience in the critical journey is what's known as the wall experience. It's kind of, we touched on it, we alluded to it in stage 4. This episode isn't really about one of the stages, but about something you encounter when you go inward and you really do hit this spiritual wall. Sometimes it feels like your joy is dried up, that your prayers feel like they can't be answered. All the certainty you used to feel about God now feels a little bit blurry. It's confusing. It's frustrating. It can be scary and terrifying. But everyone encounters the wall, and you cannot avoid it, can't go around it, can't go over it, you can't go under it. You've got to go through the wall. And not only that, you are not the one who actually gets you through the wall, which makes this experience super challenging, but really critical.
Yeah, I think we were talking about what's the most important thing to really know about the wall. It's that you can't muscle your way through it. Like you don't, it's maybe the best news and the worst news about the wall is that you're not responsible to get yourself through it. The Spirit brings you through the wall. And it's a work of God in the Spirit to kind of get you through that. But also that's the worst news because everything in us wants to just make it quick. And God is not in a hurry. And all we can do is just surrender to the wall and just kind of be there and wait at the wall. And that's a really hard, uncomfortable thing to do. But to use your running analogy, I'm not a runner at all. In fact, I really do not enjoy running at all. However, I've heard that once you hit that wall and you push through it, there is a second wind that comes. And we're going to be talking in further episodes about that second wind. So things will get a lot better next couple episodes.
So hang on.
Yes.
If you're a pull yourself up by the bootstraps type of person, this is going to be maybe a challenging episode,
this
but
is
very
tricky.
necessary.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what this experience is like. What does it look like to go through the wall, to experience this kind of confrontation with your limitations?
Yeah. So a lot of the themes of this, not season, but this experience within season 4, stage 4, is surrender, letting go, kind of getting to the point where you're like waving the white flag. I give up. I can't do this. I just need to trust that you're doing something. And a lot of people will not stay, myself included at times, because it's not fun. It's hard. And this is kind of like where you're just going to you're hitting a barrier. Like you feel like there's either, a lot of people call this a dark night of the soul. Like God is not there. He doesn't love me. He's left. He's not speaking to me, which it's really hard to surrender to him in a moment where it feels like there's a wall between you and God. And one thing my spiritual director has asked me so many times when I've been at various wall seasons in my life is like, what is God offering you? Instead of getting you out of this, what is he offering you in it? And because everything in me wants a helicopter rescue out of this wall. I want literally God to swoop down with a helicopter and pull me out and take me over the wall. And when he doesn't, I get really frustrated because to me, that's what love should look like, right? Get me out of it. And so my spiritual director has been really great to ask me, instead of that, can we reframe this and picture God is with you at the wall, and he is offering you things at the wall. His presence, his kindness, an understanding of his compassion and his gentleness in a deeper way. What is God offering you in this place instead of offering you the rescue out of it?
One of the worst, silliest, dumbest Christianese isms is, Casey, whenever God shuts a door, he always opens a window,
right,
or some version of that.
Yeah.
That could not be more further from the truth. That's actually not the promise of Scripture. That's not the promise of Jesus. The promise is when the door gets closed, when you hit the wall, he's there with you.
He'll be with you.
He's with you in the valley of the shadow
Right.
of death. I will never leave you nor forsake you.
And he doesn't say we're not going to have the valley of the shadow of death.
No.
Just that he's going to be with us in it.
Yeah, it's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah.
And one of the things we want to say is many, many people hit this spot and they never get past it because it's hard and they don't know how to let go. But this really is one of the most transformative, freeing, if you allow it, parts of the Christian experience. Because as you said, you can't manipulate yourself through this. This is very much, maybe a little cliche-ish here, but this is, Jesus has got to take the wheel. This is the moment where we realize, oh, wait a minute, God was never intended to be the passenger seat, in our car or in the back. He was actually meant to sit in the driver's seat. And we have really got to surrender to what he is doing inside of us. He's making us new, so he's crushing some things inside of us, but he's crushing them so that he can create in us what he wants, which is something that's beautiful, that's right. He is taking the parts of us that sin is corrupted, that the brokenness of the world is corrupted, and he's making us new. But it's a little bit like the dough. When you're going to make some beautiful biscuits, or you're going to make a great cake or whatever, the kneading process, the working process, the stretching process is really necessary, and that happens at the wall.
So because of that, because of how tough this is, what we really need when we're at the wall is we need compassionate companions. Like I said in the last episode, this is when I find as a spiritual director, a lot of people show up.
Yeah.
Because up until then, you don't really need a lot of compassionate companions when you're in stage 1, 2, and 3. You might need some mentors and teachers, but somebody to walk alongside you in the hard and be compassionate and sit with you in it is not something that you've probably needed to this degree up until now. And the wall could be, a medical diagnosis that's really jarring. It could be a big issue with one of your loved ones or your kids. So it could be it can be an event in your life that kind of is a wall experience. It can be places where you just feel like God's not answering your prayers. He's not hearing you. You've been asking for things for a long time and you just keep hitting into a wall. You're not getting that. So we were talking earlier, you were like, there's a lot of wall experiences in life, right? There's not just one. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot, but I would say, there's
you go through several
multiple wall experiences through your life. And so we need compassionate companions, people that can just be with us in this, not try to fix us, but just listen, be open to hear what's going on with us, not judge us, not shame us, and just be with us in it. And we need permission from ourselves and from others to not have all the answers. This is not a place where the answers are going to save us. This is a place where we are intimately dependent and surrendered to God, and that is what's going to get us through this experience. Some things to watch out for here would be mistaking the wall for the end of faith. This is the end of the journey. And sometimes it becomes the end of the journey for people because they walk away at this point because it's too much and they don't want to do it. But really what it is, it's the doorway to deeper transformation. So it's just a good to remind ourselves, this is a pathway to something greater, not the end of my faith.
Yeah. And while we not be able to see ourselves through the wall, that's the work of the Spirit, we can be our own hindrance.
Yeah.
There are some obstacles that can get in the way. Let's talk about a few of those. One of the chief barriers to experiencing deeper maturity with God is our ego.
Yeah.
Pride and arrogance actually shuts down the work of the Spirit when you hit the wall. It's one of the we get in our own way. We refuse to surrender. We refuse to give up some of the things that God is calling us to give up. And man, if you've got narcissistic, egotistical tendencies, the wall experience will almost be the end of the road for you, because it really is the humbling and undoing of yourself, so that instead of you, it's Christ that people begin to experience. What else kind of gets in the way?
Yeah, resistance, man. We all have these moments or
Yeah.
these ways that we want to resist the wall instead of waiting at it. And self-deprecation, like, I'm just the worst. I'm the worst Christian. I'm the worst, which is really its own form of pride and ego.
Sure.
Just kind of getting down on yourself
Yeah.
and, I couldn't make it. I couldn't run the race. That can really be a hindrance and a way of resisting the wall, actually. And guilt and shame going along with that. Just getting stuck in guilt and shame can really be a barrier to receiving the love and compassion and what God has to offer you in this season.
I think the intellect can be a real form of resistance. Smart people feel like they can always figure their way out of it, but actually this is one of those spaces in the spiritual journey where the really smart person who makes really good grades, who can really think deeply about things, actually it's like, oh my goodness, I actually can't think my way through this. I don't understand this. And so kind of turning over and being, for the smart, I can figure this out. I can understand this. I just need to watch a documentary, read a white paper, go to class on this. Oh, this can be really hard. But like, no, this is supernatural and I can't explain it or understand it.
Yeah, and that would be an example of kind of somebody that feels really comfortable at stage 2.
Yeah.
And it just feels easier to go back to stage 2 than to sit in front of this brick wall in front of me that I can't do anything about. Also, achievement, that would be kind of an example of going back to stage 3. Like, I can do more and avoid this.
Yeah, if you're an Enneagram 3 type A driven person, the wall experience is hard because it probably takes that type of person longer to get through this experience because they keep saying, I can jump higher, I can get it, right? They're on American Ninja Warrior and there's the high thing and they just keep, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And you actually have to learn, nope, I can't.
Yeah.
I wasn't made to.
Janet Hagberg, one of the writers of the book, says this: we often try to deal with the wall in the same way we have gotten through life, on the strength of our own will or gifts. We try everything we can to scale it, circumvent it, burrow under it, leap over it, or simply ignore it, but the wall remains. Ignore it is another good form of resistance, and I really resonate with that because I am a natural avoidant type. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, and so I just tend to avoid things that don't sound very fun or feel really hard, or places where I might feel trapped or stuck. And so it's, I might just like have a little tea party with karaoke at the wall and just kind of pretend like it's not there for a while.
Okay,
and that's kind of my way. Like, oh, that's not happening. Let's just distract ourselves. That could be another way that we don't go back necessarily, but we just kind of distract ourselves that it's even going on. And I mean, we have so many options in our world and culture to numb out and distract ourselves for sure.
So we're sharing these things, not to shame anyone, guilt anyone, but to just say, hey, if you're struggling spiritually right now, and any of those categories we just mentioned kind of touched you, that might be the thing that's holding you up. And that's the thing that you actually need to say, all right, Lord, this right here is what we got to deal with. I need your help in this.
Yeah. Pay attention to your resistances. We all have them. They look different in all of us, but pay attention to where you're in resistance, because there's probably something that the Lord's inviting you into when we're resistant. And it's been said, but just a healthy reminder that the fact that you're at the wall does not mean you're doing something wrong. Yeah. The wall is a progression on your spiritual journey. If you've never hit a wall, I mean, happy for you. That's awesome. But you will. And it is a sign that you are moving forward on your spiritual journey.
That's why if you're in the police academy or if you're in your military training and you're in the boot camp and you're on the obstacle course, about 3/4 of the way through, when you're exhausted and tired, that's where the big wall is. And you've got to go over the wall.
Scale the wall.
Yeah, you got to scale the wall. Except this wall, you go through.
You can't scale it.
One of your favorites, you like to call him Papa Gene, but pastor and writer Eugene Peterson said this. I think this is really helpful for people to understand about the wall experience. That spiritual transformation does not mean gaining new stuff, but losing old stuff. Growth is a matter of subtraction, not addition.
Mic drop, Papa Gene.
I mean, if that's not what it means to experience the wall, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So you've mentioned a little bit in the last episode, you've definitely had a dark night of the soul, hit a wall. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I would say, if I think about wall experience 2007, Julie and I, in 4 weeks, I lost my job, we lost our house, and we had a late, second trimester miscarriage that was just really wrecking. And so I ended up working in a job that kept me out of church on Sundays, and I loved that. Preacher Brad loved that he got a job doing a good task, but it kept me out of church on Sundays. When I could go, I'd show up 5 minutes late, so I didn't have to talk to anybody, and I'd leave 5 minutes early, right? That was me resisting the wall in a big way. Here's the thing that for me, was the wall experience. The wall experience was the undoing of my identity. If you think about the wall as maybe a strainer, a colander, the thing that needed to get crushed in me was my false identity. The wall was a necessary crushing of old Brad so that the new Brad that Christ wanted to make in me could be made. It was definitely one of the worst, maybe the worst season of my life, but a season that now, looking back on nearly 20 years later, was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me.
Thanks for sharing that. It sounds like you wouldn't trade that experience, even though it felt really painful in the moment, because you have come to know Jesus in a deeper way. And like Job, like we talked about last time, I really think if we could, when we can talk to Job one day in heaven, he will tell us that was the worst, but I got to see God through this experience, and I wouldn't change it. Yeah. And I mean, I'm excited to talk to Job one of these days and hear his perspective on this.
I think the Apostle Paul is describing the wall when he says, 3 times I begged God to take this away from me, remove this thorn in the flesh. But in the wall experience, he discovered, no, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in your wall experience, your weakness.
I love that you bring that up, because as you were talking, I was thinking about my own walls experience of walls. And I don't know if mine has just been a really, really thick wall for the last 10 years.
That's the Great Wall of China.
Or it's been wall, little break, wall, little break, wall. I don't know, but we have had several wall type experiences over the last 10 years, anywhere from the homesickness of moving across the country, really unexpected major homesickness, the death of my mom, struggles with kids. And it's just kind of one thing after another. So each time you come to the wall, you're like, whew, I was expecting a break, but here's another one. So I don't know, maybe it's just one big thick wall. Yeah. But I do know that, or I was thinking when you were talking, I think the wall for me is more about what Paul said. I've asked you and begged you to take this away time after time. I think the wall for me, even though there's been really hard circumstances, is just what feels like at times God's lack of response to my prayers in those things. His lack of showing up in the way that I expect him to. Because I'm an optimist. So you can give me hard thing after hard thing after hard thing, and I'll be like, it's okay. we got this. It's going to be good. But I think what's really been the wall and the real unmasking and undoing is my own expectation of what God will do if I pray hard enough and I pray long enough and I pray fervently enough. And that has been a real surrendering place.
You bring up a really good point. And I'm maybe jumping ahead here, but I think one of the worst things people can hear when they're on the wall is if you'll just do fill in the blank spiritual practice enough, read the Bible more, go to small group harder. The pray one is a big one, particularly when people maybe are experiencing an ailment. Like, Casey, you just need to have enough faith. What an absolutely suffocating weight to put on your shoulders. Like, oh my goodness, the reason I am where I'm at now is because I have not mustered up enough faith. And all of that is actually counter to what, the Bible teaches us, what Jesus teaches us. It's like, no, you actually, whatever the tiniest seed we can imagine, that's what you need in this moment, because it is not, here's the thing, when you face the wall, what gets you through the wall is not the size or strength of your faith, but rather the sufficiency and goodness of the God in which your faith is in.
Right.
The wall is where we encounter the reality that this is what God does in us and for us, not what we do for ourselves.
And by no means are we saying don't pray or ask for help. Right. However, that mentality of if I could just pray more is actually just taking you back away from the wall, back to working and working for God's favor. And that's really what's getting unmasked, right? Is that if I'm good, then I'm going to get a certain result from God. It's transactional. And I think transactional relationship with God is one of the things that has been really peeled away. I would never have said I have a transactional relationship with God. I would have told you the gospel is outside of anything that I do, but I didn't know it until he really stopped doing what I wanted him to do. And I really was like, oh, I guess I was transactional. And that's not a very fun realization to come to, but it is getting stripped away through that experience. So,
well, drilling down deeper into how do we experience God at the wall, we discover him as sufficient. You learn what you're saying. The opposite of the transactional relationship with God is the intimate. He's present in actually unexpected ways. He carries us despite our fear, in the midst of our loss. In our uncertainty, it's his faithfulness that is what gets us through the wall. And we experience the transformative grace of God. And when you get through the wall, when God brings you through the wall, you all of a sudden realize, man, on the other side, your beliefs in God were very shallow. You might have thought they were deep. It's the puppy love of the 18-year-olds who think the love they feel for each other is like the ocean. And you and I both know it's sweet, it's meaningful, but it's like a little puddle out in the parking lot. That when you see the couple though that have been married for 50 years, still kind of touching each other's hands across the restaurant, like that's the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the experience, how you experience God. Like, oh my goodness, actually, while that was really important in a part of my stage, the God I've experienced in the wall is so much deeper and richer than before.
And you don't really get to that sweet old couple in the restaurant without probably some battle scars.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same way in our relationship with God, I think. So I think one of the biggest ways we come to understand ourselves better in this experience is like our unmasking of our ego and our false self. So false self is another way of saying ego. That's basically what I do and project to try to give the world and maybe even God and maybe even myself an image of who I want to be. Our true self is our imago Dei. It's who God made us to be. It's our truest sense of self, our deep identity of who God made us to be. But all of us early on in life learn, sometimes that self gets rejected. And so I'm going to build up this ego and I'm going to build up all of these masks and ways that I present myself to the world so that I can be loved and accepted. And that all kind of gets stripped away or starts to get stripped away here.
Like God in his kindness kind of told us that was what was going to happen. Like image of God version of ourselves, Genesis 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then,
The
call it a
fig leaves.
wall. And,
Yeah.
and what do they do? They try to cover themselves up. They try to mask themselves up. And God's like, that's cute.
Yeah. So there is like a spiritual nakedness, right? Like
Yes.
the fig leaves are getting taken off,
Yes.
and that is vulnerable and
Yes.
uncomfortable and embarrassing and all the things, but God is with us in it. Aren't we selling this? We're selling this experience.
It's necessary.
Come on to
We're
the
doing
wall,
our
everybody.
best. It is amazing how much easier talking about the wall is than going through
Oh,
it.
for sure. I could talk about it all day. I could talk about your wall forever.
That's awesome.
My wall, not so much.
Absolutely. Well, how can we see others more deeply, more empathetically, more compassionately in the wall experience?
Support, compassion, not judgmental, but not rescuing.
Yeah.
We don't need to rescue people from this. We're actually doing them a disservice if we come in and try to rescue them, try to give them the right answers, or get them, like you said, the wrong thing to say is, oh, if you just did more, prayed harder, had more faith. That is not how to have empathy for people in this space. Yeah. Give them a place, just like we talked about in stage 4, give them a safe place to have doubts, to be frustrated that God's not doing what they want him to do. Maybe really, this is a really good time to ask good questions instead of giving a lot of pontificating or answers or advice. Good. This is a place to just go, man, what's this experience like for you? Like, this must feel scary. Like, what are you worried is going to happen? Yeah. Or, like there could be really good questions that could be asked that give people an opportunity to share more deeply what they're experiencing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a moment and reflect on what the wall experience is.
Yeah. Let's close our eyes and just take a second to reflect and engage with the Lord on the feelings that we even have now talking about this. So maybe you've not hit a wall yet and there's like a fear or panic rising up in you. Can you just acknowledge that for a moment with God? Or maybe you're in it right now and you have come through a wall and there's like a different emotional response. So what's your emotional response this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are listening to this? What's your emotional response as we talk about this wall experience? Maybe just thinking for a moment, is there a time that you have faced a real spiritual crisis? And what did it feel like to not have all the answers? And you think about hard times that you faced, how has surrender or resistance shaped your experience of those wall experiences? Have there been moments of surrender that have really helped you get to know God in a deeper way? Have there been moments of resistance where you just felt yourself avoid and run away? Let's take a moment and think about that. God, we thank you that in your goodness, you don't just rescue us right out of this experience, even though that does not feel good. Thank you that you are with us and you promise not to leave us as we surrender to what feels really scary, what feels really painful and really hard. Thank you that you are always with us, that your love and grace and compassion and gentleness towards us is so readily available. Thank you that our doubts and our frustrations do not create any anxiety or worry in you, and you are absolutely willing to be with us in those things. I pray grace over anyone that is at a wall right now. I pray that they would feel an extra measure of your presence, your love, and your compassion for them. Thank you for what's on the other side of the wall, and thank you that you are willing to be with us and walk us through. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Casey, if the most important thing we can understand about our role when we hit the wall experience, if it's surrender, then the practice we are going to encourage people into is the active practice of nothing.
Yeah. Silence, solitude.
Get quiet, open your hands up, and you have crafted a wonderful, what I call in the meantime prayer, meaning I'm not where I want to be, out there somewhere. Here's what you pray. Pray, God, I don't understand. And you can fill in the blank with whatever's going on. But in the meantime, I'm going to trust you. And then just sit in that stillness, not having to try to resolve whatever's going on, and allow God's presence to be what holds you, even if you don't have the answers.
Yeah. That's a very powerful and at times very hard thing to say. God, I don't understand, but I trust you.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing about your own journey and helping us on this path with Jesus. Until next time, Casey, grace and peace.
Grace and peace.